for my own, just for my own, recording here to find out who's on the call, what business they represent, and just a little bit about them. So good morning, everyone who's on the call. This is Gail Pavliga, your state representative, and I just want to thank Ryan and the chamber for inviting me to be here this morning to discuss small businesses and concerns and some of the initiatives that we have been working on for legislation down in the State House, and to just connect with you and find out your concerns and inform you on the things that are of interest to you. So Ryan, I'll kind of let you help pass that around there to who's on the call, and just so they could say hi. And I like to write down their names and just get my pen paper here.
Sure. I'll start off just by how the screen is set up here with Kelly. If you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Gail. Kelly Perkowski. Good to see you.
Hey, Kelly. Kelly, what business do you work for? I know you and I've seen you. Thank you so much for being on the call this morning.
Of course. Well, I represent the IT industry.
Okay.
In this case, we are developing our business, Caliber Technology, and our focus is to assist small businesses that cannot afford to have their own IT staff. So, just to begin, I'm just interested in hearing your overview as far as what you've been working on, what your thoughts are, and then, I'll certainly have questions and add commentary at that point. So good to see you.
All right. Thanks for being on the call, and good to see you, Kelly.
My pleasure.
All right, Miss Julie.
Good morning, Gail. Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie McLean. I'm the Executive Director of Main Street Ravenna.
Hi, Julie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good, thanks.
Sean.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Gail and everyone. I'm Sean Gordon, and I'm the director of the Portage Medical Center Foundation at UH Portage Medical Center. And I'm on also the past president of the chamber, having worked with Ryan and on the board. And I'm just always, we're very, very curious as to what the needs are of the small businesses in the community. As one of the largest employers in the county, we certainly do everything we can to help support small businesses and our folks here. So thank you for being here today. I'm looking forward to it.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for being on the call this morning. Hopefully everybody's got a good cup of caffeine and we'll have a good discussion this morning.
Absolutely.
All right.
Janet.
Good morning, Gail. Janet Kuhn from Northeast Ohio Medical University. How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm doing well. Nice to see you, Janet. Boy, I'll tell you, you get around Columbus, Neomed. She's a traveling lady.
Yeah, Northeast Ohio. So just here for support. And again, being a large employer in the county, we're here to support both the big and the small businesses.
Oh, gosh. Thank you for being on the phone, and good to see you.
All right, Rebecca.
Good morning, everyone. Rebecca Armstrong. I'm the Northeast Regional Liaison with the State Treasurer's Office. So thank you for joining us this morning, Representative. Looking to hearing to what you have to say.
All right. Thanks for being on the call.
And then Sabrina.
Good morning, Gail.
Hi, Sabrina.
I got double hats on today. I'm Sabrina Christian Bennett. I'm the owner of Bennett Land Title Agency, as well as the Portage County Commissioner. And I was just looking forward to hearing what's going on down in Columbus and how we can work together to help our small businesses.
All right. Thank you so much, Sabrina.
Awesome. And then Greg, if you would like to introduce yourself. I know you just popped on, so we're sort of throwing you into the mix.
No problem. My name is Greg Perkowski. You probably already talked to my wife, Kelly.
Yes, earlier. Yes.
Well, there you go. Hi, Gail.
Hi, Greg.
How are you?
I'm doing very well and happy to have everybody on the call this morning and have a good chat with everybody.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right. You can go ahead, my dear.
You talking to me, Gail?
Yes, I'm talking to you, Gail. Yes, you're good. Sorry, I should have addressed that.
Great. Well, it sounds like we got just a great group of people. And first of all, just to even, introduce, myself, most of you I have met before and I had the pleasure of having some conversation with. But this is just, I'm starting into my 4th month down at the State House and was completely honored to be selected as the representative. I feel that my non-political background was something that really was something that really appealed to the voters of Portage County. Being a independent business owner, a college professor, doctor, and owning a B&B and a practice is just I think it was something that I felt that I brought a breadth and depth to the office, and in a sense of common sense conservative leadership that possibly has not been there before, but resonated with the voters. I certainly understand that in our community, we are very split. People do vote on the issues rather than on the party. So I've always felt that it was my goal to listen to both sides of the story and really hear what people have to say. And I feel that with my background as a psychologist, to really listen and process information is something that I feel is a benefit coming with me to this role of serving all of you. The businesses in the 75th district have really been suffering, during the COVID pandemic. I think that we really all understand that. But until you really go out and understand that sometimes a person, the amount of money that they already owe in loans or employees is they can't close, or they need to close, they don't want to close, and have invested so much into their businesses. And we need to really understand that if we are going to be a country that promotes small businesses and entrepreneurialism, then we also have to be a country that supports that. So we've been working diligently to push for legislation that's going to advance and help small businesses as well as the workforce. In House Bill, I guess I'll just go through, and I made a few notes here because I'm always prepared for the discussions that I like to have. And so House Bill 110. And so when just to kind of familiarize you, just as I have become familiar with state politics, one of the things that is done initially when you start a General Assembly is to work on the state operating budget. You might hear the old buzzword budget, budget, budget. But until you go down and you work through a budget, it is really an ordeal because you have line items in the budget. It's hundreds of pages long. You have to be familiar with many things that are going in there. You have to listen to the needs of your businesses and constituents and organizations and start to do that. But one of the things that was put into that 2-year operating budget that I'm really proud of, and again, I'm so proud of our Scott Olslager and the entire Finance Committee for putting together. Our budget is phenomenal this year and was passed out. And so I'm going to go over some of the critical highlights in that new year state operating budget, and stop me at any point. But I really think that you need to know the brighter points of that. So we proposed a 2% across the board personal income tax rate cut, which will reduce taxes and withholding amounts by approximately $380 million over the biennium. And so what's happening is we still are looking to help people in East Ohio and to save them money and propose tax cuts across the board. That's something that we feel is very important with common sense leadership, is to be able to cut income taxes across the board for people. And then coupled with recently passed legislation that it was part of something that I had proposed with Ohio's tax code and the federal law that has provided nearly I think it's about 500 million in personal income tax cuts. And this is going to be money that, again, is going to put hands directly, put money right back into the hands of the people here in Ohio. And even with the tax relief, we were able to propose a structurally balanced budget, which, I'm quite proud of, especially after the past year. So that's so if you think about the state budget, you've got to put money in there to fund the programs, to run the state, but you also have to be thinking about how can we save money and put more money back into the hands of each and every person. And this is what this budget, this 2 years House Bill 110 really worked on. And just so you know, the dauntingness of that is that we continuously put in money, we put in amendments. I should say we don't put in money. Let me recant that. We put in amendments as your legislators to add, to take away, to put, reappropriate, to do things. And that is something that is a tedious process that goes on for months at a time. And so that's where, when I hear from certain businesses, I can add budget amendments. And if other people, other representatives come in, they take second look at that, but they constantly are going back through that budget and, putting in things that they feel are going to be of the best representation for the state. And so as far as the support for the small businesses, the budget includes a series of targeted investment to support Ohio jobs businesses, and they include a bill that expands procurement law that supports Ohio jobs and businesses by expanding the type of purchases eligible for an Ohio preference and requiring state agencies to give preference to American and Ohio products through a competitive bidding process. And I think that's really cool because, again, we want made in Ohio and made in the USA in that bidding process. And when it came to purchasing the protective equipment costing less than $50,000, and this process is required for purchases over $50,000 that we have to give preference and competitive bidding. We also in the budget provide $3.6 million to support economic development programs and job creations through the efforts at Department of Defense facilities in Ohio, and working with the Department of Defense efficiency initiatives and future-based realignment and closure activities. We're also investing in the workforce, which helps push Ohioans and our small businesses forward. And this bill, it's something that we've done through a task force. I sit on the Small Business Caucus, and then there's a separate a committee on that that it starts to work on legislative and workforce initiatives. But this particular bill creates a 13-member joint legislative committee to study career pathways and workforce training. And I've just been really, really intrigued by some of the programs that I have been talking to that are really wanting to train the workforce. My goal is that that our high schools would graduate fully prepared people to either go on to the next phases in their lives with trades, with going on to higher education and into the service. But we have got to, in Ohio, have a workforce. If we are going to attract businesses here, we have to be able to say that we have a workforce prepared and ready for those businesses. And this is something that is really problematic, and that I have been reaching out with the schools and with the education committee to say, hey, how can we in the high schools get a accurate view forward of what professions are going to be needed. And even though I am a college professor and a PhD, not everybody has to go to college, especially with the diversity of the workforce that we're going to be needing in the future. And really get understand those numbers and the opportunities of what we're going to need here in Ohio. And so I'll kind of stop there because I want to be able to answer any questions, rather than rambling on. I'm so passionate about this information and immersed in it, down in it. And I just want to make sure that you don't have any questions for me at this point. So I'll just, Ryan, I'll just kind of stop now and see if there are any questions. I've got a lot more to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure that there's not any questions at this point about what the budget, this is what, House Bill 110, which was passed out of the Senate or out of the House and is going into the Senate. They will rework it a little bit, but those are just some of the things that as your state representative were the points that I was pushing for, in this budget that I felt were important to our small businesses and our community.
That's awesome. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask.
Gail, this is Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
I know we still have a lot of people on unemployment that basically a lot of employers are feeling like they're getting incentivized to stay home. Is there any initiative to get those folks back to work? Because everywhere you go, and I go on business calls all the time, I mean, people are hurting for employees. Is there anything that the state is looking into that might be able to assist with that? I mean,
You know, Sabrina, that is such an interesting question, because just yesterday when we were in our caucus meeting, and just so you understand what that means is each of the parties down there, you have obviously your Republican and your Democratic caucus, but we usually meet for anywhere from 1 to several hours before a session to go over the bills that are going to be heard on the floor, get explanations and ask questions for those. And the Speaker of the House yesterday had told us that we're going to be getting federal dollars in for relief, for COVID relief, and there was going to be in the tune of probably close to $2 billion. And the state, I mean, I'm going to answer your question, but the state does owe back to the federal a lot of money that we borrowed to pay our unemployment. But we were talking about what to do with the rest of that. And that's where I'm going to answer your question, that we don't want to fund a lot of that money into more unsustainable programs. So the idea that the House is starting to formulate is going to answer your question. We want to incentivize going back to work with some of that money. Okay, so giving somebody a sign-on bonus of $300 possibly. We're talking about that. Out in Wyoming, and I believe it's Wyoming, but don't quote me on that. I read a story a couple of days ago about the governor that was looking to do that. Instead of paying people to stay home, we need to get them back out into the workforce. So we were talking about doing that. And on top of that, doing some work for infrastructure and updates, which again will bring people back to work, and doing some much needed upgrades with water and sewer and many things that in districts we're finding across the state need a lot of work and upgrades. But we're definitely not putting it into any more, like I said, unsustainable programs. And so that is something that I would be highly on board with, and started to get some initial good discussion yesterday. So what I think you're going to see coming out of the House is, I mean, don't, you know, again, that's where there was a lot of good discussion among the members yesterday about giving people sign-on bonuses to go back to work rather than incentivizing staying at home, because our small businesses, Sabrina, not only now are they getting back open, but then they're being hit twice where they can't find enough workers to possibly, like at fast food, they want to be able to open their dining room, but they barely have enough people to staff to do their carryouts.
Well, you know, Gail, that's a good point, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone through the drive-through, let's say, for example, in Ravenna at Arby's, and they're closed. I mean, I go to this one gas station there by 76 and 14 in Edinburgh, and they're closed. And it says, and it's not because their staff has COVID, they don't have employees.
Right. And, you know, and Sabrina, that message has been heard across the state. And, you know, as the, you know, as fiscal conservatives, you know, that have the majority in the state, we are looking for ways to, you know, build the economy and the workforce, you know, rather than incentivizing, you know, people to stay home. And so I agree with you. I see that all the time too. And it's a shame because, you know, people do need to get back to work. We do need to be producing in our communities to get our economy back. People have got to go back to work. And so I think what we're going to be seeing is ongoing discussion about some of the federal money that we're going to get, having sign-on bonuses to get back to work. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is outstanding, because I know that the help wanted signs are, there's jobs aplenty. And I had just talked to one of our business owners, I don't know, maybe at the end of last week, and he had gone through the whole hiring process, actually filled out the paperwork to hire 4 employees, and they never showed up on their first day.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, to go through all that, that's been a consistent concern.
Yeah.
About, I think 99.9% of the businesses is that they can't find people to work.
No, and I mean, they're giving incentives. I mean, the good news is it's bumping up the wages, but there's still, I mean, and it's from everything. I mean, for example, we got Parker Hannafin. You know, Parker Hannafin was always a destined place to work, and it was hard to get in there. Now they've got hiring signs out. I mean, I was talking on a call yesterday, Lincoln Electric. I mean, all these good places that people used to, you know, want to get into because they were so hard to get into. They were good places. People went in and never left. They've all got help wanted signs. I mean, there is no industry that is not touched by the lack of employees.
Mhm.
So,
One of our downtown restaurants is working on putting on a big patio on the outside of her business, and she's telling her contractor, go slow as you can,
yeah.
because I can't hire anybody. No one wants to work. So she has the opportunity to expand her business and increase her seating capacity. But what's the point?
Well,
she can't hire anybody.
Right.
Julie, and that's a good point. And then the people they do have, they're burning them out.
Yes.
Because they're just trying to maintain. And I can't tell you how many businesses say to me, I could take on so much more work, but I just don't have the manpower.
Mhm.
So,
I
right,
do
thank
feel
you.
that we do need to address that, because, and I don't know the answer to that. Is it because people are making too much money staying at home? Or people still fearful, of coming out due to COVID and working around the public? But we do know that our population has not, shrunk that much, to the
No.
pre-COVID areas that we would not have enough people. It's so the reason is why are people not out working? And it's especially, again, in the fast food and in some of those industries, and people are blaming the minimum wage on that. But I have my own thoughts on that. That then if we do raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, I can remember my daughter graduated from college. She's 29 now, and like she was 22. She started off around $15 an hour with a college degree. So now somebody coming out, so now do their wages have to get bumped up? And then
Oh, yeah.
of course,
Mhm.
yes, and see, that's where, we have to take a look at, and those are the things that I struggle with each day. I'm thinking, okay, we go to minimum wage. So then a person's potentially coming right out of a 4-year college, they would start around 15 an hour. And so now they're going to do $20 an hour, and it's still going to bump up what businesses have to
It is.
charge. So are we really that far ahead? And those are the dilemmas and the head scratching things that we have to really be taking a look at as leaders.
Yep.
So, that being said, I welcome any ideas. We are in our subcommittees, with our small business caucus, which I sit on, and, looking at how do we build workforce? How do we get people back out and working? And as what was said before, the ones that are working so many hours, and especially in that. So in the care workers, the hands-on industries, people working in nursing homes, I've met with Hattie Larum. I have met with people who are working in assisted living, that aid, that particular part of, and I mean, again, we're getting off things that's more like Medicare reimbursements and things, but what do we do with that wage between that $9 to $15 an hour, which we are desperate now for workers and seem to have a hard time with? And you know what, I would welcome any of your feedback that are on this call right now to just have some side discussion on that, if anybody has any ideas, because we debate this all the time. What do we do? I'd love to have some input on that.
Were there any other questions as of this point?
Gail, this is Kelly. I was interested in knowing from the Senate's perspective, do you have a feel as far as how they're going to respond to this House bill?
Oh, 110. I think that it will be favorable because the budget was very well done. But they're going to, again, when it goes through the House, the House puts their twists on it. The thing is that the Senate will debate along the same lines. Okay. And so when they get the budget ready to go to the governor, or to pass it out of the Senate, it will have been reworked a little bit, but usually what they're going to be adding stuff in is going to be probably exactly like what we're talking about, the small business initiatives, because to get these businesses back up and running. So that's where, if we do see some change around, I will expect to see that. You know, I fought for keeping the funding for, you know, the rapid transit system, you know, met very regularly with Portage County. The governor was ready to really cut a lot of things with, you know, public transportation. I know that we're, you know, getting on to a side note here, but I think that they will probably keep that, but you'll see some changes. But that again, I can't have any direct control over, you know, that's why we debate it so highly in the House, because once it goes out of the House and we vote it out of the House, we just don't have any power left over it other than for me to go to a senator such as, you know, our Senator Serino and debate a point that they are, you know, to not have something taken out or to have something taken out. So I would always have a way to go back in, but I personally, as a representative, once it goes out of there, in the House doesn't, we just have to go then and lobby our senators, just no different than what any of you would have to do. And believe me, we do that on occasion on cases too. We'll go in and plead our case there with the Senate. So.
No, of course, yeah. No, I'm glad to hear your feeling and or hearing it's favorable. So with Sabrina's question on that conversation, you certainly brought up, you don't know what's affecting the freeze. I mean, I agree with Sabrina that it has been made favorable to stay home. There are initiatives. I have friends in South Carolina. Yeah, I have friends in the dental industry that their employees just flat out stated, why should I come back to work? I'm making an extra $200. So yeah, that's certainly a problem, and thrilled to hear that they're talking about, you know, sign-on bonuses and such. What is your opinion, and or what is the discussion that's happening in Columbus as to how the mask mandate is affecting things? I know you brought up, you're not sure if it's COVID related. Folks are afraid to come in. It is hard to say, but I mean, are we hearing where I feel if the governor says, all right, it's time to open up, truly just open up across the board, that mentally changes the switch for folks like, okay, I need to get back to work if that's the case. But when they see everyone's moving forward, hopefully that makes a difference. So where are we? Can you share with us, you know, if there's any opportunity to truly open up the doors proverbially for these businesses so they don't have to post signs, they don't have to yell at people for wearing masks, and people can feel comfortable to come and go?
Well, Kelly, that's again, extremely good question. So I will go back to what was passed yesterday, which is the Business Fairness Act. But before that, I'm going to back up to Senate Bill 22. Okay.
Okay.
And so it was a very, very controversial piece of legislation put into effect because, you know, most of you know, but I'll just go back and you know, give you a little bit of perspective. Ohio had never really put into place the amount of power that the governor could have in a state of emergency. Okay. And so, you know, without this was a very, very rough, you know, time for us, you know, with the COVID. And we do all believe that initially that the governor probably acted correctly, you know, in the face of what was happening. But then we started to see that it was continuing to the point where it was just hurting people so much. But even more importantly, what was happening was the power of the executive branch, you know, to work along with the other branches, the legislative branches, was not happening. So, and again, some people may disagree with me, and I'll probably get some, but the idea is when you send a representative down there, it is to represent your interests. And when there is more of a dictatorship going on of what's going to happen, that somebody says, well, okay, the United States or the Ohio Constitution is good, but when we decide that it isn't, we can take that over. Okay. That is unacceptable to most of us. So
Amen,
what
sister.
and so but a lot of people don't understand this, or they see it as a political thing, Kelly, and I really just want to try and really explain it to everyone here. The idea is if the state is going to be shut down and one person has enough power, what are you even doing sending a representative down there to represent your interests? And it's not that, and I got hundreds and hundreds of messages because I supported Senate Bill 22, saying you don't care about people, or you prioritize profit over people. This is not the case. And everybody needs to understand this message. What we fought for was that if somebody shuts down, the governor or the person shuts down the state, that in a certain point, we have to go down there and review those orders to be able to look at that, okay? Because other than that, we lose our power, okay? And so this legislation gives us oversight and transparency over orders that are issued during an emergency. And so the idea is that's, and part of that is, the mask mandates. And we are taking a look at this because the governor now is saying, hey, we're not going to pull this till our COVID is less than, I think it's 50 per
100,000.
Yeah, okay. That's not going to happen.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a lot of numbers. Okay, and so the idea is we're starting to see things opening back up now, and these mask mandates are starting to. It's the mask mandate is still there, but the idea is I think we're going to see it coming up and up and up. Personally, I went to Florida a few weeks ago, and I was just in shock that people walk around down there a lot of times maskless and in businesses, or they're given the opportunity. Some places you still have to wear a mask and some that you don't, but their economy is thriving and people are going there because of the fact that their governor wants businesses open, and they want to have people the freedom to go back and forth. And so that's what, a lot of what Senate Bill 22 was about, is just the being able to have oversight and transparency, and to have all of you through me have a voice down there about whether we feel that we want to continue with those things and to vote on those things. And it's not about me being an expert on health or somebody else not. It's about the individual freedoms and a voice still being heard, and transparency in those orders. The Small Business Fairness Act, which I was a co-sponsor of and very supportive of, says that if you're a small business, such as a furniture store, and a big box store, such as, not picking on Walmart, is somehow able to be open and sell furniture, well,
Right.
then you also have to be able to sell furniture, provided you meet the health requirements. Okay, that were put down. So that's just where I got very angry. And this act, the Small Business Fairness Act, was set apart in the last General Assembly, but is actually moving through very quickly in this General Assembly by Representatives Wilkin and John Cross, who I work very closely with because of their business connections, and saying that, okay, if you are following the orders, the health orders, and you are a jewelry store and Walmart is open to sell jewelry, you get to be open to sell jewelry. Okay, because that's called being fair. Okay, and so why do some businesses get to stay open and others get to close? And a lot of pushback that we got from the other side was, okay, who's going to police this? And you're trying to take money now and consolidate health departments. All of this is really malarkey, because we feel that most businesses can very easily, keep their businesses open and follow health orders as they would see fit, without massive government oversight. And I think they should fairly be able to stay open for those reasons.
All right, well, thank you.
I hope does that answer your question a little bit, Kelly, or did I go around it too much?
Oh, no, it does. I mean, yes, I'm familiar with SB 22. I honestly, and I know you can't answer this, but my view in this point, we have to allow folks to have the freedom to make their own decision. They feel comfortable wearing the mask. They feel comfortable not wearing the mask. I know I have not gone out and done things because I really just don't feel like putting a mask on and having to worry about it. The small businesses, they do not have the backing of the big box stores. Let's just say in regards to feeling strong enough to stand up to customers and say, you must wear a mask. And that also puts stresses on the employees as well, where you're talking about, it's not just the fact that they don't have enough employees. They're few and far between. The public is a difficult realm to work in. You can't please them all. And so you have folks attacking the middleman per se. So my hope is that we just get back to where we were in 2018, and folks can do what they need to do. They don't feel well, they stay home. They're concerned, they wear a mask, whatever the case may be, right? I did just go to South Carolina, and there it's optional. And it was interesting to see the folks wanted to wear masks. They weren't staring or glaring at people who weren't. And the opposite was the same, that if you weren't wearing a mask, you weren't angry at the one that had a mask on. I mean, now I drive down the road and you hear people yelling out, don't wear a mask, or vice versa. And I think that's the problem that we run into now, and that we need to allow folks to make their own decisions. And that's going to be wonderful when that happens.
Right, I agree with you, but the governor is still holding tight on his numbers of and I think it was Sean that came, it was 50 for the 50 per 100,000.
Right.
Okay. And so you have to realize that's a huge number to hit. Okay. So I think that's that we're not going to be seeing that anytime soon, but those numbers are not that different from other, I mean, the mask mandates, like what you're talking about, have come down in other states, and we are lagging very far behind on getting rid of these mask mandates or making them more optional. So believe me, we are still fighting over that. The problem is, I will tell you that we wanted to put in the SB 22, there was a thought about putting an amendment on there in the House. But when the Senate, when the Senate brought the Senate Bill 22 to the House, we were because if we would have put an amendment on that, then the amendment would have had to been debated. It would have had to go back to the Senate, and this legislation could have gone on forever and ever and ever. Okay,
Yeah.
and so that's why it was so highly discussed in the House, because the House was very much in favor of wanting the mask mandate. But then to amend what the Senate, we were lucky to get the deal we did from the Senate, okay, to tell you the truth, okay?
Right.
And that was debated highly. So for us to come back and throw that on there would have taken it back over to the House, and this could have been endless through the entire General Assembly, and then got this bill passed. And then, we also did the override of the governor's ability to veto it, and got enough votes to do that. So that was, I would have liked to have seen the mask, but that was about as far as we were going to get on 22.
And that's fine. I do appreciate your answers and your honesty, Gail. I just feel this is one part of it that is hurting small business.
I agree with you. And secondly, we were even doubling back on the idea of getting employees. I think to myself, I'm very fortunate. We do, most of us do wear masks in Columbus coming, here and there, but it's certainly along party lines down there. And when somebody comes into my practice, I have them wear a mask in, but when they're in the counseling room, we can socially distance, and they have an option to wear the mask. But many people, when they're going to work, that mask has to be on 8 hours a day. Think of our poor people that work at the hospitals and factories and in restaurants. And that's a rough reason sometimes, that if somebody goes, I have to wear a mask for 8 hours a day, I can't even stand it for 8 minutes, let alone 8 hours. And so those are all the ideas that need to be, addressed, no question. And it's frustrating, but we look at, those are our things that we, problems of today. People talk about the good old days. They had problems, that they debated and answered. And for all of you, this is what our questions are in this day, and we will work on answering them and finding solutions for them. I feel very comfortable, saying that these are the current issues, and we need to look at initiatives and innovative thinking and ways to solve them, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? I know Greg, I thought I saw him raise his hand. I don't know if that was by mistake or if that was on purpose.
No, sometimes I self-monitor and I decided to put my hand down.
Oh, okay, all right, gotcha.
But, I guess in closing, it is a high priority that, down in the State House, and I want you to know, being in the intricacies, in the meetings and in the committees and in the caucus discussions, that every one of the representatives down there hears the voice of the small businesses in their communities and saying, what do we need to do, to get businesses open back up? And that is of the highest priority of what we are working on down there, and to get Ohio open and to do it safely. And we believe in the power of the people of Ohio to be able to open their businesses, to be able to monitor them, and to be able to have the freedom to be able to do that. And the next thing is going to be hopefully the masks in this mandate. So we're looking at restaurants having half the numbers of employees that they have before. And so it's just all things that we are working on. We're very excited to have the input. I would welcome the opportunity to talk with each one of you about any of your concerns or ideas. The goal with the representation down there is I come from all of you, hearing what you have to say, go down and debate those points and introduce legislation on that behalf. But just to update you on a little bit about what I am doing, as your state representative, I currently have 7 active bills out, which I'm very, very proud of, that I think serve the state and our people and our community first and foremost very well. One of them being the Ben Dillon Memorial Highway. We have since 2007, we've been working to get a memorial for Corporal Ben Dillon of Edinburgh, and that is right now on an omnibus, meaning that it's going to be rolling over into the Senate. There's a whole list of people that need the bridges and the memorials and things, and so that has passed out of the Transportation Committee after our testimony, and his family came down there unanimously, so that was good. I'm establishing a Family Stability Commission to be able to study defining family, and also, to study how do we stabilize the family, and then the effects of an unstable family on the educational system and on the community. I've introduced legislation now for all Schedule II drugs to be electronically submitted to cut down on illegal scripts, hence keeping drugs out of the hands of people that could sell them. So it's electronic prescribing bill that is coming very quickly up with its 3rd hearing, and is a very it's not a controversial bill. We all agree that we want to cut down on the access, through fraudulent prescriptions, and getting our businesses and our practices into the idea of the electronic filing of these Schedule II substances, which would be, of course, your opioids, and keeping my campaign promise to work on that. We also I'm working with the Ohio State CASA, that's Court Appointed Special Advocacy, and Guardians Ad Litem, to have them elevated to protections like Officer of the Court. And so it's a anti-harassment law that we're going to be working on. And I'm also working with Judge Patty Smith to bring a CASA advocacy program, now fully funded, that I wrote into the budget to support a CASA advocacy program for the Portage County area, which I'm extremely proud of. We're also going to be the biggest thing that I hope that I will get a hip hip hooray on is Representative Diane Grandel and I we'll be having our first hearing about getting rid of e-check.
Yay!
Oh,
I'm all for that.
I want a hooray, a bigger hooray.
Yeah, here's the raw, Gail.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, one of our newer bills that I just worked on with another representative, Reardon McLean. It's going to be something that is very near and dear to my heart, working with families the way that I do. is that once a child has been placed in foster care with a family for 9 months and is doing well with that family is then elevated to a kinship status with that child and has equal amounts of input over the future of that child. I have just in my years of counseling worked with foster parents who have worked and had children, and just to be taken away from them with no say-so over their future, and has been very detrimental not only for the children but for these families. And again, we want to debate that it is a good idea for a family, to reunite, possibly after a child has been placed in foster under the correct conditions. But a foster parent who has had a significant relationship in a person's life should have a say-so over that. And this bill will seek to look at redefining what kinship is, and that kinship after 9 months will have a great level of input with the court system on the future and then the placement of that child, no different than a family or a relative. And I think that I feel very strongly about that too as well. My work in higher education and on the mental health board is also going very well. I'm the vice chair of behavioral health and substance abuse recovery, and also in our community working very closely with the county board of mental health. I've met with Coleman Center. I've met with Town Hall 2 and every one of the communities, in our community with mental health and initiatives that they're looking at, as well as with Ted St. John, with Hope Village and Hope Village Recovery, and the promise that that holds for our community, and that model even for the state for helping those in recovery. So that's pretty much a overview of what I'm working on for all of you down in Columbus. And again, just thank you for your support of putting me there. And I won't let you down. I think people just don't understand, that this job is a 24-hour job. You never, because, there's stuff that comes in from the constituents, and then there's new buzz that starts going at the State House. And then you're always thinking in new and different directions. And it's a very exciting job that I feel very up to do, and very excited to be representing all of you, and just look forward to being out in the community. I'm always here by email, a phone call, and just look forward to what we can do as a county to support businesses here and all of you and our schools and across the state as well.
Thank you very much. I really am very grateful for you taking the time to speak with us. And like I said, I will definitely share this out so other people can hear your voice, and also know how open you are to and welcoming you are to hearing from people. So that's more than half the battle. So I appreciate that.
Well, and I'm not just saying it because it sounds politically correct.
No.
The job of the representative is to listen to the people. Okay. And to, I don't go into massive debates with people. Okay. That's not my job, to debate people, but it is my job to listen to what they have to say, to take that voice and to, look at what the differing perspectives are, and to hear what they have to say. And debate that down in the House. So, that is really how things happen, is that somebody comes up with an idea, and that may not be the answer to something, but it spurs on more discussion over here, which then takes it in a different direction. And I have seen that happen so readily in our committees when we meet, down there, that, we'll have witnesses and testimony that comes in that will lead to new and different discussion that will make bills even better and more substantial. And that's where you must have an open mind about things. But no, that's opinions are always welcome, definitely. And look forward to hearing them all.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Did anybody have any other questions or? No? All right.
No.
All
This
right.
has been very good.
Very interesting.
I want to thank the chamber for hosting this, and for State Rep Pavliga for hosting this as well today, because I feel like it's been very informative, and I hope you will consider doing this in the future, just
Yeah.
to keep us updated.
Oh, I would be happy to do so. And so I'll just, wait for Ryan for another invitation and any type of thing that you would like me to speak about what's going on, or at a meeting, I'd love to get out to all of the meetings. I'm happy to do so and give updates about, what's going on down at the State House as far as, aspects of legislation and where they are in the process and the things that you would like for me to get behind and support too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with this first one, I think it's a new thing, and if we keep it consistent and offering it out there, I think that our participation will increase and it will become a regular scheduled invite. So I think that would be great. We'll definitely work that out.
Look forward to it. Thank you all again for getting up early and being on the call and just the interest that you have in your community and in the state and in our businesses. And Ryan, thank you for the job that you do as the director of the chamber and, helping small businesses to support each other and, in the community. And we just need to all work together, and that's what it's about.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much. And everybody have a great rest of your day. It's raining out, but
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thanks. Guys, have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.